Thank you so much for being here this evening. This is our, I think it's our fourth reIMAGINE learning session. Each session has a different topic, and I want to go through really quickly the quick, really brief history that brings us to today. So when we set out in the summer to listen to our community, to understand more about what's important here at Mason City Schools and in the community, we went out into homes and we began to listen to, we call those community conversations. And I may have been in some of your homes, or you joined us in a home, and we talked a lot about what's important to our community. We also listened to our students in that process, what's important to our students. We listened to our business partners. And through that, we came up with themes. And those themes took us from community conversations into what we called special edition community conversations. We invited people to this space, and we talked about themes that rise to the top. And then from there, we said, let's go through our community and let's mine for the ideas that maybe didn't come out yet and rake through those. And we have these sessions called reIMAGINE learning sessions, and each one has a specific topic. Tonight's topic is about grads and graduation and being ready for the next step, that future readiness. And so tonight we have a few levels of conversation that we're going to engage you in. The first, which is going to be powerful, is our wonderful panel up here, and they're going to introduce themselves in just a moment. And then after that, we're going to get a highlight of a program that we have here at Mason City Schools that is connecting students out into the world, into business partnerships. And then we're going to meet someone from Sinclair that's going to talk a little bit about a different pathway that's also available. And that's all because of the feedback that we've heard from our families. And then after that, it's your turn, where you'll get to engage in a design thinking process activity with us that will hopefully generate creative ideas, and that will bring us to a place where we can collaborate around what really matters for our graduates. So we have our folks here, and you know who I am. I'm Jonathan Cooper. So I've got 4 kiddos in the district, so they're at all different levels. One at 7th grade, one at 5th grade, one at 2nd grade, and one at 1st grade. And I don't think it was my kiddo that pulled the fire alarm at MECC today. He could have, or she could have, but I don't think it was this time, so that's good. Mr. Petrie, our Chief Operations Officer, always checks that for me just to make sure. But anyways, everyone was safe, and they did a great job, and we thank everyone for their patience. It always keeps us on our toes over there. But our family is loving serving here at Mason City Schools and in the community, and my wife, Michelle, is just delighted that we can all be in the same community and working toward the same goals, and so that's something that we are excited about. So again, thank you for being here this evening, and I'd like us now, I'm going to start at the end here and work our way this way. And my first question for our panel is, first, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about where are you now, and if you're here at the high school, what are you engaged in, what are you doing, and if you're out of high school and a graduate, what are you doing there?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Casey Richards, and I graduated from the University of Kentucky in 2017, and I'm currently at Xavier University getting my master's in Health Services Administration. My parents both taught in the district, and my sister teaches in the district currently, so I have a love for Mason, and I'm glad to be with all of you tonight. And I will be starting at Westchester Hospital July 1st for my last rotation of my program, and hopefully get hired on thereafter. So.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hunter Taylor, and I graduated Mason last year in 2018. I'm currently a first year at the University of Cincinnati studying operations management, pursuing a BBA in operations management and finance. I'm also involved in the Klodzik Business Scholars Program, which is an honors business program at UC. In high school, I did a couple internships with Comet Savings and Loan, and then another internship at Cintas, and this summer I will be returning to co-op at Cintas.
Hi, my name is Danielle Peters. I graduated in 2015, and I will be graduating from UC this spring. I am a finance major. In post-college, I'll be working at Cincinnati Children's as a treasury analyst. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Kate Salamini, and I'm a first year at the University of Cincinnati. I am currently pursuing a degree as a BSN, a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing. Hi, I'm Katherine Geiger. I graduated Mason in 2017, and right now I'm a second year at the University of Cincinnati studying electronic media and marketing.
I'm Alexia Thomas. I'm currently a senior, so I'll be graduating this year. I'll be going to Ohio State, majoring in marketing, minoring in fashion merchandising. And then here at the high school, I run track and field. I'm in part of a Mason Inclusion Club and SIBS, and then I'm also in the Comet Savings Loan internship.
Hi, I am Nandana Nair. I'm a sophomore here at Mason, and I'm an active member of Drama Club, and I've also been a part of the Young Women's Club for a year now.
Let's give our panel a hand just for being here tonight, being brave to be up here to answer questions. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to throw out a question, and the question that I have first, and we'll start at this end, if that's okay. What has helped you the most during your Mason experience? So when you think of the Mason experience, what's been the most helpful for you to feel prepared, future ready as a graduate going out into the world? And if you are a graduate and you're out there doing your master's, what did we do here well that prepared you? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I'm here at Mason. It has really taught me to be patient with myself, which is not really something that you think about, but it has really helped me become patient with myself, my surroundings, my peers, because if I don't understand anything, it's okay. I understand that it's okay and that I can ask my teachers, I can ask my friends to help me out, and I don't have to like lash out at anybody else or be mad at myself if I don't understand anything. So yeah, patience is definitely up there.
Like I mentioned earlier, I'm part of the Comet Savings Loan internship, which is our school bank, which is over there. And I am in charge of marketing, so I oversee the entire department, and just being able to be a part of that and figure out what I want to do, which is marketing, really helped me. And being able to work with my peers and problem solve. And we have a teacher, but we are allowed to go out and do stuff ourselves, and we figure things out on our own. So just having that experience, that real world business experience, because we are students running a bank, and being able to do that has helped me a lot.
I think what helped me most at Mason was the integrated media intern class with Dale Connor. It was a really, really immersive class, like projects that we were given, he kind of took a step back, and we were in charge of organizing them and like communicating with the people that the projects were about, and with adults, like in emailing back and forth, and like interviewing people, having to set up and schedule. And it was a lot of like hard skills that I like still use today, and like how to email people, how to communicate with people, how to set things up. And I just think that him like putting us in positions to do things like on a team or on our own without like someone guiding us along every step of the way really prepared me for how you have to handle things in college.
What I think helped me the most was the Westchester Hospital internship that I did. Mrs. Gentine actually set that up for us. But you had to like interview for it and apply for it, which is kind of like a real life application of how you would get a job. And then it was just nice to see like what you would actually be doing in the future, especially for nursing, because the academic side is so different from like the clinical side. And so like, especially your first year, it's like really hard academically, but like you have to realize that like that's not gonna be the rest of your life. Like you're actually gonna be helping people, and so just like seeing what your future is gonna be like was really neat.
So kind of going off what everyone has said, my senior year was the general manager of the Comet Zone, and I think that this idea of what Mason's developing with experiential learning is great, and I think that that's really what set me up for success. But the reason it set me up for success wasn't because I figured out that I wanted to go into business or that I liked a certain aspect. It was because I found my voice, and I learned how to manage people, and I learned how to talk to people and handle conflict. And I got to do it in a setting where I could fall a little bit, but I was never going to fall down. And there was always someone to pick you up and help you and guide you along the way, but you also had your independence. So I think this whole idea of having that experiential learning is beneficial because you know what you're gonna do, but it's also beneficial because you get to kind of fail a little bit and try out different things without falling down.
Yeah, I was also a part of the experiential learning. Like I said, I did an internship with Centos in supply chain management. But what actually led me to doing that internship were the Empower Hour and luncheons, and they were held about once a month. And I got to learn and meet a lot about the business world. I got to meet a lot of business professionals, and I think that really set me up for success, not only with networking, but finding out what I want to do. I had never heard of supply chain management before we had a couple professionals come in from Centos and educate us on it. I also got to learn a lot about professionalism, business etiquette, anything from making a resume to interviewing, and that was stuff you can't just learn in the class, and something that wasn't just taught on a regular basis. It was really learning more about outside of the classroom and about the real world.
So I wish that I had the experiential learning that came a little bit after me, but I was the president of Comet Savings and Loan my senior year, and that really excelled me to find my passion in business, but also with working with individuals and leading, because being a part of a team like that, Mrs. Donnelly does a great job, but we're kind of on our own as well in an aspect, because we kind of have to figure it out, and then at the end of the day, if she has to help, she has to help, but she really pushes us to work as a team and collaborate with each other. Also, classes such as like accounting and different things let you find your passion and take classes that you're really interested in, so that was big for me.
Thank you very much for your answers. So we heard a little bit about what's going well and what's really prepared our students, current and graduates. So now I'd like to flip that and challenge you to think a little bit about what advice maybe, or what did we miss? Or what are we missing? Or what could we do more of? Maybe we did a little bit and we could enhance it or amplify it, or we're just not doing it at all, and you really wish we would have spent some time preparing you for this, because you hit the real world out there and it just didn't feel like there was a gap there. So if you could talk a little bit about that, that'd be great.
So the first one was the experiential learning, and you guys have really nailed that, so that is good. But I would say a lot of public speaking. We did have ECA, but public speaking was a huge thing that we did take one class, but I feel like going through college at the University of Kentucky and now in my master's program, exams are kind of going by the wayside. It's a lot of you do a project and you present on it, so public speaking is huge. And then also Microsoft, Excel, how to create a PowerPoint, working with Microsoft Word and all the functions throughout that. We have, in class, we work on Google Docs, Google Slides, and all of that, but once you get into the real world, it is all Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint. So really focusing on that, because as a business major, I worked a lot in Excel, so probably those two things.
Yeah, kind of stemming off what you said, the group aspect and kind of working in a collaboration is something that almost every class I have and every project I work on is with a group. Nothing is individual, especially in the business world. And I wish I had learned those group dynamics and group skills more here while at Mason. So maybe doing more group projects, working more closely with a team rather than being individually graded. And then another thing, there was a financial literacy class that I took as a sophomore, and that was a great class, but I can tell you that I don't really remember any of it because it was not applicable to a 15-year-old at the time. And I wish I had taken that at an older age or learned more about it at Mason, learning about taxes, learning about the economy, learning about politics, stuff that you can teach it as a young age, but no one really uses it until they need to use it. And now being out in college and being in the real world, I wish I had known all that information.
So I think it's not what Mason could do more of, but less of, and that's the stress of academic rigor. So I think my senior year, I want to say that we offered like 21 APs. Does that sound right? Something like that. I'll tell you, I'm in the same honors program as him, graduating college with a strong GPA, getting the job I wanted. I took 2 APs all of high school. I had a good GPA. It didn't seem good at the time, and now I sit there and I'm like, why was I upset about that? But it's this idea of take the APs, get the good GPA, grades. You have to get into good college. You have to get a good ACT score. Yes, all of that matters, but at the end of the day, it's the skills that enable you to sit in an interview and say, this is what I'm passionate about. This is how I followed that passion, and this is how me following my passion changed something. And you can't do that because you took AP Stats or AP Psych. Those are great if that's what you want to do. If you want to go to Harvard, then yeah, maybe focus on APs. But if you want to succeed in a real-world career, it's about getting involved outside of classes, getting involved in organizations, taking the classes that are these experiential learnings. Take 2 APs out of your schedule so that you can take a study hall, so that you can go do things after school. You need to have a life. It can't just be about the academic rigor, because that's not how it is after you get out of high school.
I'm gonna build off of what like Danielle said. I think just like learning like outside experiences, because it really helps with you like how much you have to interview and stuff. Like I had to interview to get into my like certain area of college, which was nursing. And then I know in like the future we have to interview for co-ops. And so like if you're sitting in an interview and literally all you focused on was like taking all the AP classes, you can't like explain anything real life. You're like, oh, I sat in AP Stats and learned this. Like that's not helpful. And so if you make time to do like outside experiences, like when I went to Westchester, I learned like so much about what nursing was actually about. It's like really helpful to be able to like talk and explain and like realize why you're passionate about what you want to do.
One of the main things I would say as well are the Microsoft skills. I know there's like a Microsoft Office certification class, which was really, really good and really helpful for me. I almost feel like it should be like a required class, just because in my classes, like even with people like who graduated with me at Mason, they'll be like, how the heck do you use Excel? And I'm like, I think I remember from class. But so just like technical skills there. And as well as like, I don't know, making some sort of like curriculum or core class about like professional skills as well. Like how to interview, like how to make a resume that doesn't just look like everyone else's. And like just really any like skill that has to do with applying for getting into like a program or like a job, I think was something that I kind of felt like I had to figure out on my own. Yeah.
For me, I'm going to say the whole idea of personalized learning. I think some teachers take that too literally. I had a chemistry teacher who literally just gave us a packet every single week and said, learn this. And in chemistry, that is, and it's not my strong suit. That was very hard to do, to sit in class and just look at the paper the entire bell and not understand what's going on and not have any basis for any of the information in the packet at all, and then get tested over it and then be surprised why we all got a bad grade. I think the closest teacher that I have to doing that is my accounting teacher, Dr. Scalfaro. He will go over the information, we'll do a work together part of the assignment, and we'll do it on your own part of it. So you're actually applying that, and I think that's the closest I've gotten to personalized learning, rather than just getting information and expected to know it and then apply it and then getting graded on it.
For me, going off of what they said before, the stress is pretty up there with all the AP courses and all the honors courses and everything. I mean, I don't want to say competition, but like everybody wants that, you know, good grades. Everybody wants that, you know, 4.0 GPA to get into the college that they want. So many students get so stressed and are under so much pressure because of this, which is like completely set aside because, I mean, obviously they're focusing on that GPA. So I guess student care could get like a little bit more attention. I know the idea of like care rooms are proposed, but if it was like actually put into play, that would be very, very helpful.
So I'm hearing some great themes here, and hopefully that this is prompting you to think a little bit, because we will turn to you here shortly for your ideas of how we capture what we've heard here and how we can begin to shape some ideas here for Mason City Schools as we move forward. You mentioned care rooms. I think that came out of our student voice. We tried something new this year with Innovate K-12 and Ignite Your Vision. Is that where it came from? And Christine McCormick over here, if you just raise your hand, if you have questions about that program, it is something that we have tried to ask our students, what do you want to have here in care rooms, and all kinds of ideas around caring for the whole student came up in those, which is really important to us. Okay, so for a last question, and then you can always, if you want to add anything to this, any advice as we move out. The question I have is, what are you most nervous about? Whether you're a undergrad and you're moving out, what are you most nervous about for the future? And if you're in college, what are you most nervous about that would help us think through, boy, is there something we can pay more attention to here? And we've heard a little bit about stress. We've heard a little bit about making sure we have some of the right content skills offered. But is there anything else that we just haven't hit yet?
Well, I'm a sophomore, so obviously there's like not much that I know about college. I'm in financial literacy right now, so I am learning, and throughout the class, the first few weeks, there was so much I did not know. And I think, like Hunter said, whatever he learned in financial literacy, he hasn't really used that, I guess. So yeah, I'm a little worried now, but so I guess I'm just nervous about the entire college experience because, I mean, there's not much that I know. So hopefully throughout the semester, I learn more about college life, campus life, and everything like that. So, yeah.
The thing I would say I was most nervous about is just those business classes that I took. Am I actually going to be able to apply those when I'm in school? Like I'm taking AP Micro and Macro right now. Will that actually help me when if I pass get the 3 or above, if I get put into that upper placement class in college, will I actually be able to understand what's going on, because they already expect me to have this higher level of knowledge. And then just so much time that we have more in college, I'm stacked back to back and I'm involved in a lot of stuff here. So am I going to be able to effectively keep those skills going and do the same thing in college?
I would say something that I am the most nervous about for people going into college is community, which is something kind of weird to talk about coming out of high school. But I think that the most important thing for me coming to college was finding community around me that supported me and that pushed me to be better. And the first week of college is big go time for finding your people and your friends. But I think that if there is something that I would mark as the most important thing to me in college, yes, academics are important and I try really hard in them to succeed, but it's the people who are around me and the kind of person that I think that they shape me to be. And I was kind of thinking, I'm okay, how can this tie into Mason High School? And that might look like implementing some sort of program or something that can connect you with either people who you're graduating with or even people graduating from other high schools who have similar interests or who are going to be in the same programs as you. Just going in, you feel like you're just lost the first week, maybe your roommate. But if there's something that you can do to kind of cultivate community on campus, even before you get there, I think would be super helpful, because getting there and meeting people is really scary, but it's really good.
The biggest thing for me right now is just learning how to time manage, because you have so much more time, but you don't at the same time. You're not taking as many classes, but you don't have the same schedule every day and stuff. But you have so much work to do, and so just finding out how to manage your time and motivate yourself to do everything is a big thing for me right now.
So Alexi, I'm going to start by answering your question. Yes, those APs will pay off. Either you'll get out of your classes or you'll know what they're talking about. So it's good that you're taking those. I'm not trying to, I know I said that was something that we need to put less stress on, and I believe that, but it's also, they do pay off. I would say my biggest thing, so on campus, I help run a first-year leadership program. So during the first week at UC, there's this thing, and we call it the org fair, and 500 organizations line up, and you basically pitch what you do to these freshmen. And so what we do is we help develop those soft skills that you don't necessarily have coming out of high school. And really what I see in that is they'll go through this interview process, and that one big thing we stress is, what are you passionate about? What do you care about? And they're well, in high school, I got a 32 on my ACT. And we're okay, so what do you care about? And they can't distinguish being a good student and being passionate about something, and their passion is their good grades and their academic rigor. And so I would say, again, kind of putting less stress on that and giving students more opportunities to find out what they can put their time and effort to outside of their grades, whether that's doing something like an org fair at the beginning of freshman year, for upperclassmen to really tell the underclassmen what they do and what organizations we have available, or doing something like this with freshmen as they come in, but really making sure that they know what's available to them and how they can utilize it to their benefit.
Yeah, Alexia, by the way, I took AP Micro and Macro, and if you're a business student, highly recommend it because I got out of both classes, which was a total of 6 credit hours. That freed up my schedule a lot, and I'm not an econ major, so I don't really miss out on anything. But the thing I would say I'm most nervous about is trying to figure out where I fit in outside of college. So I'm thinking forward. You know, I'm doing all these different internships with different companies, but trying to figure out where I belong in a company culture. A company in the real world is very different from high school or from college. And I think, you know, we come into high school, we're all forced into one school based on our district, so we don't really have much of a choice. And then we get, you know, graduate and realize you can choose a college, and you don't really know, like, what do I pick? You know, how do I pick what's best for me? You don't know what's best for you. And I think that's something I'm very nervous about going forward, is I don't know what company is best for me, where, you know, I know what I want to do, I know what I want to work on, but I don't know how I'm going to fit in, or, you know, what I personally like take a passion in, like she was saying.
So I think what I will say is what I'm nervous about for those that are coming out of high school and going into college is the technology aspect. Technology is great, don't get me wrong, but like Carol Lehman said in her speech when she addressed the class, I think it was last year or, get rid of the phones and live in the moment, and because that will really take you further than anything, because when you are sitting in class or working on a group project, you're not communicating via text message, you're communicating face to face, and if you're not, then you're probably not getting the best grade. And also, yes, the AP classes, quit worrying about them. While they are great, yes, they do help you, but for those that are still in high school, enjoy your time. Go hang out with your friends. Go do something that you like. An AP class is not going to define you, but, you know, finding your passion will. And those that are in undergrad, do the same. Enjoy your undergrad years, because let me tell you, master's is not as fun at all. So really just enjoy that and, you know, live it up.
I love the message, and I'm hoping that if you're a parent here, that if your kiddo's not here, we will have this on video. Love for them to see this, so I challenge you to watch at least the panel session with them. And if you're watching this out there and you're not here this evening, again, I challenge you to watch this and listen to the words, because this is wise advice coming from folks that just came out or are right in the middle of, and we need to listen to that student voice. It will help us make better decisions in the future, so we appreciate that. Before you go, I'm going to ask a couple, I'm going to ask one of a person that you know well, and I'm going to put her on the spot here for a minute to do a little highlight of some of the things, because you heard us mention experiential learning, and so since Deb Gentina is here, I'm going to have her give a little summary of what that's all about, and then we'll shift gears and I'll get you off of the panel here, and then we're going to have another guest speak to us a little bit. Is that okay? So Deb, if you don't mind.
Thank you. The average person, when they finish high school, and Alexia, you can probably really relate to this because you're getting so close to graduating, being a senior, but the average person will have spent 16,000 hours of their life in school, and that probably seems every bit of it right now. But the average person, when they go to the workplace, will spend over 90,000 hours working. And so I like for students to understand, I cannot imagine doing something I didn't love for 90,000 hours of my life. And so I get the opportunity as the experiential learning coordinator to help students make the connection between the classroom and the workplace. And that can look like a lot of different things. They mentioned some of these here. It's bringing in guest speakers. primarily for career exploration, but we also get to touch a lot of students with professional skills, workplace culture, actually having mentoring and long-term relations, as in Centos. Now he's getting ready to go back to Centos because of the connection he made in high school. And I heard that that process for a college intern is pretty rigorous, so congratulations on that. But it looks like a lot of different things. Guest speakers, sometimes it's job shadowing, sometimes it's internships, sometimes it's site visits to local employers. And this is for students that are looking at all kinds of alternatives. We have a lot of opportunities for students who are planning on going to college, as well as those who are looking at certificate programs, or maybe a skilled trade position, or maybe just entering the workforce immediately right after high school. I like to say that through experiential learning, you can either affirm your path or tweak your journey, and that's exactly what we try to do. Thank you.
Let's give them a hand as they dismiss, and you're welcome to stay, or if you're busy, you may go do whatever you need to do. So let's give them a hand for being here this evening. Thanks so much. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. And if you want to stay and join us, you're welcome to. You can also go. All right. Well, I'd like another guest to come up and highlight another opportunity, and then we're going to move into some activity for you as well. So what I would like to do is, we hear a lot about college, and we hear a lot about a 4-year program. We hear AP courses, but there are other opportunities out there, and sometimes our parents are asking us, could you please highlight some of the other opportunities? So I have a guest here. I'm going to have her introduce herself, tell us a little bit about what she's doing, but Madeline is taking over the Mason area, and I won't ruin your introduction, but you can tell us a little bit about what's there and some opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. I'm Madeline Isley, and I'm the Senior Vice President for Sinclair. And I've been asked by our president to focus on the Mason campus. So as of the first of the year, it's been my pleasure to meet with Jonathan several times and his senior staff. We were all together just on Monday, and some of my senior colleagues as well, talking exactly about these topics, which is how do we help guide our younger people into pathways that lead to meaningful, fulfilling, and sustainable careers. It's interesting, I've had 2 experiences just in the last 24 hours that I want to tell you about that will really reinforce what you just heard from those students. Last night, almost exactly 24 hours ago, I was in a big banquet room with probably 250 business, community, and school leaders from Montgomery and Warren counties. This was the Business Advisory Council for the Montgomery County Educational Service Center. Warren County has affiliated with that as well. And the keynote speaker for that dinner was Dr. Robert Schwartz. He's a professor emeritus at the Harvard Graduate School for Education. He co-wrote an important white paper probably about 7 or 8 years ago called Pathways to Prosperity, which was examining what we now know as the skills gap. It was really beginning to look at why are employers not able to find the employees with the right skills, the right technical skills for today. But he said a couple of things. I'm going to quote him now that echo exactly what you heard the kiddos, you call them the kiddos, our friends, exactly what you heard them say. He said last night, it's not how much education you have, it's to what degree does your education match the requirements of the workforce? And he had 2 very strong recommendations. One is that students should try to earn and experience college while in high school, and I know you have students doing that. For example, I have my youngest son is a freshman at UC at the Lindner School, the business school. He took business calculus through Sinclair last year. It was jointly taught by his high school instructor and a Sinclair professor, and with his 5 credits of business calculus, he has now completed his math requirement. So he does not have to take business calculus as a business major at UC. And that was a very, very useful and meaningful experience for him. The other thing that he really stressed last night, I can't believe, we heard it time and time again this evening, is the value of work-based experiences. And the reason in his mind is twofold. First of all, it promotes lifelong learning. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But we know that technology is increasing exponentially, and the jobs of tomorrow, we don't even know what to call them yet. I'll talk about that in a minute. But the other thing is that work-based experiences also teach, he says he doesn't like to call them soft skills. He likes to call them professional skills, because you heard it. Work is done in groups. It's done collaboratively. It's done as a team. Employers want people who can solve problems and who can communicate. You heard that from your own students this evening. So that's why work-based learning is so important. This is a book that I shared with our Mason friends on Monday, and I really highly recommend it. It's called Redefining the Goal. It's written by Dr. Kevin Fleming. And he talks about there are many, many paths to success. And I think that's why Jonathan invited me up here this evening. In fact, he's a little more strident in his language. He says he calls it the one way to win lie. In other words, there's only one way to be successful. He suggests that we should focus more on career guidance, and he lists some specific steps. And actually, you heard these reinforced from the students today, too. They should start with self-exploration. You heard a couple of the students talking about being engaged in activities and learning more about particular subjects, or working together to explore yourself. The second step is a personality assessment. The third step is career exploration. That's what Debbie's doing with some of the work-based learning. And then setting a tentative career goal and asking students, what would you like to do first? Because we know that the days of working in the same corporation for 40 years are long gone. In fact, there was a study done looking at LinkedIn. The difference in job listings in LinkedIn over a 5-year period from 2008 to about 2013. In 2008, there were 100 iOS developers. In 2013, there were 12,980. In 2008, Android developers, there were 100. It increased to 10,000 in 5 years. Data scientist, which I think that job sounds really cool. 142 in 2008. Today, there are over 4,000 people listed on LinkedIn as data scientists. So these young people can't even imagine. We can't even imagine the jobs that they will ultimately have. So it's wrong to ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? The other event that took place today, that in the last 24 hours, took place this morning, actually. Lieutenant Governor John Husted came to visit Sinclair at our Dayton campus because he wanted to focus attention on the value of apprenticeships. So we had 2 employers there, and each one of them had 3 apprentices with them. Both of them in the skilled trades, but both of the employers. One, Weibel Energy Systems installs HVAC systems, but we're talking about, like, they install HVAC systems for the Cleveland Clinic. I mean, these are really complex, computer-controlled systems, right? The other company is Crane One. They install those humongous construction cranes. They're really complex and very expensive and very heavy, and also require lots of really important technical skills. And here's a telling illustration of how there's not one path to success. So of the 6, and of course these all happen to be young men, apprentices who were there, 2 of them were recent graduates of the Career Center, actually the Warren County Career Center. 2 of them had started, weren't sure what they wanted to do after high school. So they just started working in jobs and realized after a couple years that those jobs weren't going to be fulfilling and weren't going to give them opportunities to advance. One of them had actually had gotten in with the company from a buddy. He was working with a HVAC because he just really didn't know what to do. Wasn't sure he was going to like HVAC. He was just looking for a job. Ended up loving it, really enjoying the company. It's a great company, family-run company. And then the 6th guy graduated from Springboro High School, community very similar to Mason, right? Had been groomed all of his life to go to Miami because he had a family member who went to Miami. Went to Miami for a year, realized that was not the right path for him. So he left, he took some welding courses, he got in with Crane 1 as apprenticeship, and absolutely loves it. And what do they talk about, the value of that for them? That they are both learning, they're taking coursework through Sinclair, and then it's being reinforced on the job, and it's a hands-on experience where they feel like they're really contributing. They can see the product of what they're doing, and they're making good money, and they've got a career path ahead of them. So they are, again, great illustrations, I think, of how there are many, many paths to success. Sinclair Community College is a comprehensive community college. We offer over 250 certificate and degree programs. In fact, interestingly, we are in enrollment. We serve 28,000 students a year, unique individual students a year. In enrollment, we're second only to UC in Southwest Ohio in terms of undergraduate enrollment. And you can earn a 2-year degree and become a registered nurse, a respiratory technician. We have very robust degree programs in engineering, electrical engineering technology, architectural technology. But you can also start with a short-term certificate. This is a really nice booklet that highlights some of the, it's called A Year to a Career, some of the jobs that you can earn with just less than a year of schooling. The beauty of this and of those internship and apprenticeship programs, by the way, is that those are all college credit that then can transfer and lead on to further study if the student chooses to pursue that. I like to use the example of Roy Chu is retiring as the CEO of Kettering Health Network, large health network you're familiar with. He started his career as a respiratory therapist with a 2-year degree. Practiced respiratory therapy for some years, and then obviously moved on in the hospital network system. He's a great example of a CEO who has served the community, has grown his health network significantly, but he started that with a 2-year respiratory therapy degree. There are many other examples like that, and just know that there are many, many options for you and for your students to be successful in life.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So hopefully the folks that have asked us to give some other examples, you just had a great example of another pathway. And what I would like to do is, because we're just a few minutes behind on our schedule, just highlight really quickly up here. And you heard Madeline talk about this concept. You heard the students talk about it. But the idea of a learner profile is something we're working on as a district. You heard a student say personalized learning. one core aspect of personalized learning is a learner profile. The idea there is that we capture passion over time. So we're catching patterns over time in a learner's life that they own and that they can show over time. So that's something that we're going to be talking a lot more about. So pay close attention to the learner profile as we move forward. So hopefully people will help us with that. All right, I think it's time to shift to, I believe we have a mentee. Is that right? All right, here we go. Okay.
Just giving a little with each.
Okay, so I think if I'm understanding right, if I can read these on the board, you have different skills around the room, right? So we have creative innovator over here. I believe it says collaborator over there. Mr. Messer, is it critical thinker and problem solver? Got it. And then communicator. So you have different places around the room that you're going to be adding some ideas to. Up here on the board in front of you, this is something that you're going to get the chance to participate with right now. So, Christine, do you want to take it away and explain what they're doing here?
Sure. What you want to do is you're going to go to menti.com and use this code. But what we're trying to find are what skills are not already represented. As you look around at the tables, because the slide's gone, so you'll have to look around the tables to see what's not already there. So any skills, take what we learned in the round table and think of any skills that we might want to add. And we'll add those to the mystery tables, which are the ones with the question marks. So take a few minutes and add any skills you can think of. Oh, the skills are already up there. So any ones other than communication, critical thinking, problem solving, innovative creation, and collaboration. What other skills do you feel our graduates need?
So on your phone, this is one time we'll encourage you to be on your phone for just a minute, and then as we heard the student here, we'll put our phones down and talk as human beings to each other. But go to Menti, MENTI.com, and then the code is right there. It's 199806. If someone could give me a thumbs up that that's working out there. Okay, got a lot of thumbs up. So once you get in there, you're going to add anything that we've missed in these skills. And to get your brain thinking, one that comes up a lot with our business partners, especially startups, is an entrepreneur, that entrepreneurial kind of mindset. So that might be just to give you something to think about. So continue to add your ideas up here. You can probably add several. Is that true, Christine? Yep. We'll take just a second. And then as you're adding these up and putting your ideas in here, leadership, empathy, self-care, selling yourself, understanding your brand. We do talk a little bit about that, but we could do some more of that. Team collaboration, you heard our students talk about that. Continue to add your words in there. I thought that said healthy bake sales there for just a second, but I probably... Great. And I believe it's set up, the more that we see of one, the larger the word is. So if you see one up there that you like, you can add that word again, and that's your way of saying yes, thumbs up, or I connect with that, I agree. So if you see one up here that you like, add your word again. So empathy, time management, leadership, skills, logic, common sense just hit the screen. Sewing, great, excellent. No, these are great. Someone on, because we asked this question earlier, someone sent me a text message that says, teach our kids how to write an email, a professional email. Because, you know, they say, what's up, Cooper? You know, and those kind of things when our kids write me emails. So that might be one worth looking at. This is perfect. And this is exactly, and we'll try to bring this back up as we go. So let's transition to our next, I believe. Is that okay? Continue to add there. We can always bring, I believe, this back up here in a little bit to show you what's going on. But you can see stress management starting to make its way to the top, time management, empathy, and leadership skills.
So next is the time we've all been waiting for to get our hands on how we can work on these skills together. So you at your table have been sort of assigned a skill that we would love for you to think about through the lens of what we ask the students. Using our Post-its of red, yellow, green, what are the things around your particular skill that we need to are there things we need to stop doing to help hone that skill? Are there things we need to keep doing? Use the yellow Post-it for that one. And if there are things we need to start doing, use the green Post-it. Then, if there's a skill on here that if there are some ideas you have that do not align, like my table is critical thinking and problem solving, if I have some things that I know I want to be on communication, I saw up there grammar. So I'm going to, grammar may be important to me. I want to really hone in on grammar. Well, that isn't on my table, but I can go over and on the whiteboard later, I can go ahead and put that one up for that other problem. So right now, we're just hoping you'll work on your skill. And if you were lucky enough to get one of the question mark tables, you get to kind of pick your own adventure and think about the Mentimeter that we had going on. I will say, if you're really unhappy with the skill that you're sitting at your table, you can choose to go make new friends and join a different table.
Mystery skill winners?
Oh, our 2 mystery skill winners. So we're going to hand off. And maybe what we could ask is Mr. Dorfline and Mr. Petrie to join this this question mark table. We're going to have no, because we want to use this mystery. Because of our Mentimeter, we now are going to give you all time management and stress management. So, question mark right here, stress management, this table, time management, that table. And so those are our skills. If you have something else that you feel needed to come up, take note of that. But at this point, we'll just let you start to work. What are things we want to stop? What are things we want to keep doing? What are things we need to start doing?